Problem number 11, there's a key word, which is the point of discontinuity, which basically means that if we look at the graph at x equals 3, there should not be a y value. So the y value should not exist. There should either be a hole there for the most part or an asymptote, but there should not be a y value at x equals 3. So A, if we look at our answer choices, again, as before, if x equals 3, which domain does it fall under? It's the second one. So I'm going to plug in 3 into the second equation. When I do that, I'm going to get 3 squared plus 1, which is 10. So therefore, the y value when x is 3 is 10. So that means it does exist. If I do f of 3 for b, that means I'm going to plug in 3 for x. So 3 minus 3, take the absolute value, plus 2 gives me 2. So that y value exists. If I look at c, same thing, I'm going to plug in 3. So that gives me, I'll do c over here, 3 minus 3 over 3 squared, which gives me 0. 0 is still a number, so therefore the y value exists. And if I look at D, I'm going to plug in 3 plus 2 all over 3 squared minus 9, which gives us 5 over 0. And since you cannot divide by 0, that means that there is a hole, because at x equals 3, the y value is undefined. So the correct answer for number 11 is D. For number 12, this is a reading problem. So it says Joshua is constructing a triangle with a circle inscribed in it. So triangle with a circle inscribed in it. I'm going to draw a picture. So I have a triangle. I have a circle inscribed. It says that each vertex of the triangle will have a line passing through it, bisecting the angle. So if I have another line, excuse me. So if I have a line here, it's going to bisect the angle. If I have a line here, it's going to bisect this angle. If I have one here, it's going to bisect that angle. And it said the same conditions, which was kind of summarized in the paragraph. Each line will bisect the angle. Check. 3 lines intersect at the center of the circle. Check. And the circle will always be inscribed in the triangle. So this was more of a vocabulary question. So what type of center exists when 3 lines intersect? Remember, when 3 lines intersect, it forms a point of concurrency. And we talked about 4 different ones. The centroid is where the medians meet in a triangle, which means that you're going to have tick marks. Circumcenter is where the perpendicular bisectors meet, which means you're going to have tick marks and a right angle. Midpoint is not an actual point of concurrency, so we can take this one out. End center is where all of the angle bisectors meet, and the one that's not listed is the orthocenter, which is where the altitudes meet. So since we're talking about bisecting an angle, the only correct answer is D. In problem number 13, it gives us the equation for the investment, where A is going to be our y-intercept, where we're starting from. T is the amount of years. Remember that when we're talking about growth or decay, that in order to find that factor, we're doing 1 plus or minus the rate. So if it's more than 1, then that means we added the rate. If it's less than 1, that means we subtracted the rate. So since inside the parentheses is 1.2, that means that I had a growth, which means I added the rate. But the problem does not ask how much money. It asked about the rate, which is R. But it said the monthly rate. The equation is based off of T years, which is the yearly rate. So I'm going to take 1.20 to the T, and I want to divide the number of years by months. So I'm going to divide by 12, which is the same thing as 1/12. So if I take my equation 1.2 and raise it to the 1/12th power, because again we're dividing it into months, then that gives me 1.01530,947. But that's the same thing as the growth factor. I'm looking for the growth rate. So I'm going to subtract 1, which gives me 0.01530,947. And I want the actual percentage because our answer choices are written in percent. So I'm going to times that by 100, which gives us 1.5%.